Hello everyone, this is Harry. In this issue, we have a South Korean action film. After Tae-sik dropped out of high school, he became a leader of a underworld gang. He is famous for his fierce fighting and dominated the town by himself. Especially after drinking, he never feared anyone. Another gang was going to have fighting with Tae-sik due to seizing their area. But they didn't expect that Tae-sik was like a beast. A group of people also couldn't defeat him. Soon, he knocked the gangsters to the ground. He even killed one of them. When the two brothers of Tae-sik arrived, the scene was in a mess. Later, Tae-sik was jailed for homicide. Time flies, 10 years had passed. Tae-sik was released on parole and took the train home. At this time, Tae-sik changed his mind and decided to be a new person. He took out a small notebook. It was written, "Don't drink, don't fight, don't cry." It also had all kinds of things he wanted to do after he got out of prison. He crossed out one line every time he had finished it. Back in the small town, Tae-sik greeted his brothers. Then he went to a restaurant called Sunflower. The restaurant owner, Mama, saw Tae-sik as her son. But Mama's daughter Hee-ju was not friendly to Tae-sik. Hee-ju accepted Tae-sik to live in, just because of Mama's wish. The next day, Tae-sik went to the hospital. He wanted to remove his tattoos. But he just got out of prison and was short of money. He really couldn't afford to remove a large area of tattoos. In order to making a living, Tae-sik got a job in a garage. Afraid of Tae-sik, the police asked the owner of the garage. The owner knew exactly who Tae-sil was 10 years ago. But now Tae-sik seemed to be reborn. Asked the owner to give him a job. The owner agreed because of Tae-sik's attitude. And he was satisfied that Tae-sik worked very hard-working and no drinking. There was nothing wrong with him. Few years ago, another gang took over the town. Tae-sik's brothers had become the gang's people since then. With the growing power, the gang boss had totally managed the town. In order to be elected, the gang boss bought the surrounding land and promised to build a big shopping mall. But only Sunflower restaurant in the center was a nail house. For Mama, the restaurant meant a lot. She wouldn't let others touch it. The gang boss was very angry about this and sent his brother to solve it. But the number one brother knew, the one he used to work for was Tae-sik living in Sunflower restaurant. He didn't dare to act rashly, so he had to send others to watch day and night. After a long time, the gang boss became impatient. The number two brother knew that the negotiation was not going well. He asked the gang boss to let him solve the problem. Both of them used to work for Tae-sik. After they were attached to the gang boss, they went their own way. They all wanted to please the current boss and take care of the site by themselves. Then, the number two brother led the team to the Sunflower restaurant. At this time, Tae-sik was eating in the restaurant. The number two brother saw Tae-sik and was scared to stop. Tae-sik took the number two brother's neck, took their men and got out of the restaurant. Didn't touch that restaurant again. Soon, the gang boss passed by and found that the restaurant was still there. The driver told the gang boss the 10-year-ago crazy dog Tae-sik came out of prison and lived in the restaurant. Therefore, number one and number two dared not to act rashly. That day, Tae-sik went to school to pick up Hee-ju. But he was mistaken as a rival by a little gangster who secretly loved Hee-ju. Tae-sik was beaten by that guy. Tae-sik kept calm and didn't fight back. But the little gangster accidentally teared Tae-sik's clothes. Looked at the dragon on Tae-sik's body. He was scared. After a period of time, Tae-sik and Hee-ju gradually got to know each other. Tae-sik also often tutored math for Hee-ju. When he was in prison, he was the head of the room. There was a math teacher in his room. So the teacher taught Tae-sik math to kill the time. Tae-sik had studied for 10 years, and his level was not low. One day, Tae-sik used his first salary to bought a present for Mama and Hee-ju. Mama was deeply moved. It was the first time she had received a present from her son for many years. The next day, when Hee-ju was playing, she saw the little notebook in Tae-sik's pocket. This was given by Mama when she visited Tae-sik in prison. Then, Tae-sik regarded the little notebook as a treasure. Every time he put it in his pocket, he always took it out and looked at it with a smile. Mama didn't allow Tae-sik to do three things. They were written in the first page of the notebook. As the days went by, Tae-sik wrote more and more things. Slowly, he wrote down all the things he wanted to do. In the days of living with Mama and her daughter, Tae-sik felt extremely happy. They had become a family. But it didn't last long. The gang boss was trying to figure out how to solve the Sunflower restaurant. The driver found Tae-sik, told the whole story of the gang boss's intention. Tae-sik was kind to the driver. So the driver didn't want to see Tae-sik die. Advised Tae-sik and Mama to leave as soon as possible. Then, one of the brother's staff reported the news. Number two brother felt bad and found number one brother quickly. It was claimed that Tae-sik's meeting with the driver must be a conspiracy. They thought that Tae-sik was likely to target the boss's territory. For the benefit of themselves, they were going to work together to bring down Tae-sik. The next day, the number two brother took advantage of Tae-sik's absence. Broke into the restaurant and smashed it up. He threatened Mama to sell the restaurant and move away. Tae-sik knew it and went to the gang boss alone. He threatened the other side not to force him to do the bad thing again. But the gang boss had been so arrogant for a long time. He didn't fear the power of Tae-sik. The gang boss asked number one brother to set up a plan. sent people to beat Tae-sik deliberately and forced him to fight back. At this time, Tae-sik was on parole. Only beating one person, the police would show up immediately and send him to prison. So Tae-sik didn't fight back. After fighting for a long time, the group of gangsters had no choice but to leave. In the evening, the gang sent people to the restaurant. It exposed a cruel truth. Turned out that the man Tae-sik killed in the past was actually Mama's son. After the funeral, Mama went to see Tae-sik in prison. As soon as Tae-sik saw Mama, he cried bitterly. Mama understood that Tae-sik was not a bad person. It was just a mistake. During the period of 10 years, Mama visited Tae-sik many times. Finally forgave him, and Tae-sik also promised Mama not to drink and fight anymore. Started being a good person again. Hee-ju was very grateful for this. Because from the time she could remember, her brother was a wicked bastard. After spending money, he went home to ask for money and beat her mother. After her brother died,